What's going on, bottom line viewers? The NFL 2020 playoffs are here. In this video, I'm going to break down the entire playoffs from Wildcard Round all the way to Super Bowl 54, giving you my NFC champion, my AFC champion, and ultimately the Super Bowl 54 champion. Game-by-game analysis, game-by-game picks. But before I provide you with my Super Bowl 54 champion, make sure that you do Gronk spike the like button, subscribe to the Bottom Line View for more NFL videos and in-depth NFL analysis just like this, and comment below your opinion. Who do you see winning Super Bowl 54? Is it one of the teams that is favored, maybe the Baltimore Ravens or the San Francisco 49ers? Maybe you see a wild card team making the run to the Super Bowl. Let me know in the comment section below. Let's kick off my 2020 playoff picks, starting off in the wild card round. And what I find fascinating about the wild card this season is the coaching matchups we have. Typically, the great schemers, the big game plan versus game plan games are saved for the Super Bowl or for the NFC or AFC championship games. In this case, the wild card round is very fascinating because we have offensive coaches facing defensive coaches. We have Zimmer versus Sean Payton. We have McDermott versus O'Brien. Then we have student versus teacher. Vrabel going to New England to play Belichick. And then we have two Super Bowl coaches in Pete Carroll playing Doug Peterson, who have very different perspectives on the game of football. So wild card round should see some great coaching matchups. Starting off in the AFC with the number 4 versus the number 5, as I brought up, McDermott being the defensive guy, O'Brien being the offensive guy. Bill O'Brien has actually really struggled in the playoffs coaching-wise. The Texans have lost all of their games in the playoffs under O'Brien, outside of the game that they beat Connor Cook and the Oakland Raiders the year that Derek Carr was injured. That's the only victory he has out of 4 games in the playoffs. The other 3, they lost by double digits. So O'Brien has been outcoached so far in his NFL career. Will McDermott be able to do that in this game? I look at McDermott as one of my favorite coaches in the game, and it's strength versus strength, really. It's McDermott's secondary, Micah Hyde, Poyer, Tre'Davious White versus DeAndre Hopkins, Will Fuller, Kenny Stills, and of course Deshaun Watson. The Bills will have a lot on their hands in terms of both containing Watson's speed and ability to run, and then containing the deep passing attack. The Bills are one of the better defenses at really not giving up a lot of deep passes. So I do believe that McDermott, every single game, he finds a way to take away what you do best. I think he will in this game. You flip it to the opposite side of the ball. Really, if Josh Allen plays well, the way he can play at certain moments and really deliver a nice, pretty ball on 3 or 4 big downs in this game, the Bills can win. And I think he will be capable because the Texans are one of the worst pass defenses in the NFL. I see Cole Beasley having a good game versus Lonnie Johnson Jr. The Bills, the number 5 seed, going into Houston and defeating the Texans in the wild card round. I have the score 23 for the Bills, Texans 20. The other AFC wild card game is, for the first time since 2009, the New England Patriots will not have a bye in the playoffs. They will be playing at home as a division winner of the AFC East, as the number 3 seed taking on the Tennessee Titans, the number 6 seed in the AFC. This game could be the best of all matchups in terms of coaching, because of course we have a lot of common knowledge between these two teams. We have Mike Vrabel, the former player for the Patriots under Bill Belichick, and of course Dean Pease as well, the defensive coordinator of Tennessee, did work for Belichick at certain points in his career. So there's a lot of familiarity here, and I do feel like that does help Tennessee in this game, going into a tough environment like New England. And of course, New England is not playing their best football after dropping a game to Ryan Fitzpatrick and the Dolphins in Week 17. But to me, the game comes down to, what team are we going to get in New England? Are we going to get the team that beat Buffalo, or are we going to get the team that played Miami? Because last year, we were asking the same questions about the Patriots. I look at this matchup, I think it's going to be a very close game. I think Derrick Henry is going to be number one priority for the Patriots defense. The Titans are the number 6 rushing offense in the league. Derrick Henry, the leading rusher in the NFL. And of course, the Patriots are a top 7 run defense. So that's a very good matchup there. I think the Patriots have the corners where they won't be too stressed out in terms of covering A.J. Brown and Corey Davis on the outside to then load the box to stop Derrick Henry and force Tannehill to make perfect throws, like picture perfect throws. And if Tannehill can do that, the Titans can find their way to get an upset here. The Patriots will be able to effectively pass the ball for the most part versus a Tennessee secondary that's both beat up and honestly not great. I think they only rank 20th versus the pass this year. So I believe that it's going to be Julian Edelman making his way and having a big game versus his former teammate Logan Ryan to get the Patriots the clutch victory at the end of things. I think this is more a defensive game than an offensive game. I have the Patriots winning 24-17 at home. I just believe in their defense to have a major bounce back performance at home in front of their home crowd versus the Tennessee Titans. On the NFC side of the wild card, we have the number 4 team, the Philadelphia Eagles, just squeaking in over the Dallas Cowboys in the NFC East, taking on a team that knew they were going to be in the playoffs for quite some time. They were just determining their seeding. That's the Seattle Seahawks. The number 4 versus the number 5 matchup. This game is going to be awesome. There was a game earlier this season that was pretty good. It was very low scoring, but it was very competitive back and forth, and these two teams are very even. Now, what I will say that favors Philadelphia is that they are better on both lines of the line of scrimmage. They are better on the defensive line. They're better on the offensive line. If they're able to pressure Russell Wilson, if they're able to protect Carson Wentz, that could go a long way to winning this football game. The ultimate determining factor might actually be the performance of the quarterbacks, Carson Wentz and Russell Wilson, because both of these guys have been carrying their football team for the most part. The Eagles really lack weapons. The Eagles have a lot of injuries, like a lot of injuries. And I think that is why I'm giving the slight advantage to Seattle. The first time they played, I think they missed some opportunities to connect on some big plays, specifically with DK Metcalf. And you look at a guy like Jadeveon Clowney, who I don't even think was playing in that game, will be back and healthy. Even though the Seahawks are missing a couple of running backs, a few players here and there, I think they are the healthier team. And even though they're the road team, they are not a team that is shy of the playoffs. They understand the playoffs. They have the leadership on offense, on defense. They have the coach. They won't be totally out-coached, totally outmanned, totally out-experienced by the Eagles, which is part of the reason the Eagles have done well the last couple of years in the playoffs. They've just been more experienced in these situations. I don't believe that's the case in this game. This is actually Carson Wentz's first playoff game. I have the Seahawks winning, although I wouldn't be shocked if Philadelphia does, 20-17, another defensive game, but Seattle and Russell Wilson will find another way to get a close victory. And the last wild card matchup is the 3 seed versus the 6 seed in the NFC. The New Orleans Saints hosting the Minnesota Vikings in the Superdome, this time outside of Minneapolis. No Minneapolis miracle. It's in the Superdome. And the Saints just seem like the most poised team in the wild card round to make a run in this year's playoffs. Breeze is playing great. Sean Payton is clicking. Michael Thomas is having a historic year. And I think Michael Thomas is the difference in this game. The Vikings are very weak in the secondary this year. Good up front, good linebackers, good pass rush, but their secondary is letting them down game after game. And I see Michael Thomas having a big performance, similarly the same way he did a couple of years ago in that Minneapolis Miracle game. I think the Saints probably are the biggest favorite of the weekend and should be able to win this one pretty comfortably. I wouldn't be shocked if Zimmer gave Sean Payton, Drew Brees, and that offense a little bit of something to worry about early in the game, but I think as the game winds on, the Saints find a way to pull away. I just don't have any confidence in Kirk Cousins in these situations. I don't have any confidence in a Minnesota team that severely disappointed me versus the Packers a couple weeks back. I have the Saints winning 27-17 at home, advancing to the divisional round. The divisional round has the number 1 seed, the favorite to potentially win it all, the Baltimore Ravens, hosting the Buffalo Bills in a rematch of a game just a few weeks back. A really underrated game this year that was super competitive down to the last play. Baltimore almost was upset the first time versus Buffalo. I don't believe they'll be upset in this game either. They're hosting this game, so it's not in Buffalo. I just think the Ravens offensively, they're too powerful for a team with such a sketchy offense and inconsistent offense in the Buffalo Bills for me to count on they can go into Baltimore and get an upset. Now, I think Sean McDermott can put forth a great game plan and potentially put something on tape where the team that plays them in the AFC Championship game can take advantage of. And I think the Bills' defense will keep them in this game. But I just don't see them scoring enough points. I think it's actually Baltimore's defense, which is the reason why they win. I really like their secondary. I like Wink Martindale's ability to get these pressure packages and blitzes after Josh Allen to force some mistakes. And I think that's how the Ravens come out on top in this divisional round. I have them winning 24-13, advancing to the AFC Championship. In the 2 versus 3 matchup in the AFC, it's a rematch of last year's AFC Championship game as the New England Patriots would travel to Kansas City to play this divisional matchup. And of course, they played earlier this season in a game that was really good, really exciting, but the refs kind of got in the way from it going to overtime again, which it did last year's AFC Championship. Both teams kind of know what each other wants to do, and I think that makes for an awesome matchup in a game in the playoffs. Now, I'm kind of scared to do this because I don't want to pick against Bill Belichick in this type of game, in a rematch in the playoffs, and in a game where he has such a handle on Patrick Mahomes and this offense, and the Patriots defense is honestly played so well versus this offense. Patrick Mahomes had his worst game of the year earlier this year versus New England in New England. But I can't count on the Patriots to be consistent at this point. Maybe I'll change my pick if we get to this point in a couple weeks from now. But at this current point in time, the way the Patriots look compared to the way the Chiefs look like a team that could win the Super Bowl. The Patriots look like a team that could be upset in the first round. The Patriots may match up almost perfectly with the Chiefs on paper, but I just don't see them being able to score enough points on offense. And the worry for me with New England is if they go to Kansas City, which they'll have to do if they win, in Arrowhead instead of in Gillette, if you fall behind early, this is not a Patriots team that can find their way and fight their way back. They simply do not have enough weapons. They simply do not have the passing attack to do so. They need to play from out in front. And yes, they almost came back in New England, but this game would be in Arrowhead. Plus, there's major revenge factor here for Kansas City. So I'm going with the Chiefs to get their revenge in a close, down-to-the-wire game. The Chiefs win 27-20 over the Patriots, slaying the Dragon, which I think will give them great confidence going into the AFC Championship game. Now, in the NFC Divisional Round, the 1 versus 5 matchup, just like in the AFC, would be a rematch of the regular season. Not only a rematch once, they played twice already. This would be the 3rd time these two teams play. It's the NFC West Showdown, San Francisco hosting Seattle. Russell Wilson versus this 49ers defense. Kyle Shanahan versus Pete Carroll. I like the coaching advantage of Shanahan over Carroll. I know that sounds crazy in a playoff game, but Shanahan and his ability to scheme offense and his ability to constantly add to rematch type of games and really get after this secondary and this defense, which is a weak point of the Seahawks. I think he'll be able to scheme ways to take advantage of them. And I think Jimmy Garoppolo will have a big game. And I still don't see anyone that can cover George Kittle on this team. And they've had trouble with Deebo Samuel and Emmanuel Sanders. I think the passing attack of the San Francisco 49ers will be the reason they beat Seattle. On the other side of the ball, the 49ers will be healthier than the Seahawks. Not only are the Seahawks hurt right now and having to go to Philadelphia, but then they're going to have to go through the Eagles in what is going to be a physical ball game, and then they'll have to travel to San Francisco, where San Francisco have a week of rest. They'll have guys back from injury like D Ford to be able to get after Russell Wilson. This just doesn't seem like a good place to be if you're a Seahawks player, fan, whatever it may be. I just think San Francisco's in a perfect spot to take advantage of a Seahawks team that will be coming off a very tough stretch of games. I have San Francisco winning, and I have them winning relatively easily compared to their other matchups. It's going to be 33-20 San Francisco at home, looking like a juggernaut going into the NFC Championship. And the other divisional round game in the NFC is the New Orleans Saints versus the Green Bay Packers. The number 2 versus the number 3. And I think a lot of people are picking the Saints to upset the Packers. I'm also one of them. The Packers are a team I have not fully believed in all season long. The real advantage I'll give them here is they are outside at home. Aaron Rodgers is much better in Green Bay on Lambeau Field, and their fans are rowdy, and it's a tough place to play in general, especially for a dome team. And a quarterback like Drew Brees, who typically has not had great games in that type of weather. So if it becomes a snowy game, extremely cold game, I do worry a little bit, or even windy game, I worry about Drew Brees to be able to effectively pass the football. But I do believe that the Saints are a tougher team than they used to be. I believe the Saints are better at stopping the run. They're better at running the ball than the Packers, in my opinion. I think that the Saints will do both of those to win this game and prove that they're a tough, physically and mentally tough football team. I also really like the advantage that the Saints have as a coach in Sean Payton with tons of experience in these type of games versus a rookie head coach in Matt LaFleur, who I like, don't get me wrong, but this is a tough matchup. I think the Saints are just the better team. Marshawn Lattimore shuts down Devontae Adams. That run defense of the Saints is one of the best ones in the league. They slow down Aaron Jones. It will be difficult for Aaron Rodgers in this offense to score points. I think the Saints do enough to come out in a close game, 24-21 over the Packers. These games both have the makings of being all-time classics. The Kansas City Chiefs at Baltimore in the AFC Championship game. Now, they've played each other a couple of times over the past 2 seasons. And in both of those games, the Kansas City Chiefs and Patrick Mahomes were able to win shootout type of games over Lamar Jackson and the Baltimore Ravens. And the key here was that Kansas City was able to get out to a lead and force Baltimore to get out of their comfort zone of running the football to passing the football more consistently. Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs have the Ravens' number. I have the Chiefs upsetting the Ravens in the AFC Championship game. I think their experience from last year will come in handy big time. A matchup like Tyrann Mathieu on Mark Andrews, I think, is a great one for the Chiefs. Yes, they have Marlon Humphrey. Yes, they have a very good secondary, but they have no one that can match the speed of Tyreek Hill. And that being said, you're going to have to double him. You don't have a pass rush that can get there with just 3 or 4. You have to blitz Mahomes to get there. And that's not good because you have to double Tyreek Hill. So to me, I think the Chiefs will be able to get more big plays. And if the Ravens decide to play conservative, that puts the ball in the court of the Chiefs, where they can be the team that establishes time of possession and not the Ravens. And that's not the style of play that the Ravens want to play. I really like Lamar Jackson, but I think he won't even play a bad game here. I think he'll have a good game. But I just think the Chiefs are a really good matchup for the Ravens. And I think they will be able to go on the road and win this playoff game versus the number 1 seed and the favorite, the Ravens, to advance to the Super Bowl. In the NFC Championship game, the New Orleans Saints would travel to San Francisco for a rematch of arguably the best game of the 2019 NFL season. They had an epic in New Orleans, a high-scoring shootout. And I don't think much would change in terms of that in the NFC Championship game. I think it would probably be a shootout. Now, I'm not looking at 40s, but definitely high 20s, low 30s in this type of game. Sean Payton and Kyle Shanahan just put on a play calling show in that game earlier this year. And I think it will be a lot of the same. Drew Brees versus that style of defense that the 49ers play, which is a cover 3 type of scheme for the most part. I think Sean Payton and Drew Brees can dial up ways to beat this defense. Alvin Kamara will be difficult underneath. And I do see the Saints' run defense bouncing back from that poor performance they had earlier this year, even on the road. This is not a weather game because it's in San Francisco. I think the 49ers are a really talented team, but I like the offensive line of the Saints being able to handle that pass rush of the 49ers, exposing the back end of the 49ers defense, leaving those zones susceptible to Drew Brees, Michael Thomas, Jared Cook, and Alvin Kamara. And on the other side, I just don't know if Jimmy can go toe-to-toe in a potential shootout again versus Drew Brees. And I do think Sean Payton will be able to adjust in the second matchup, in the rematch, a little bit more than Kyle Shanahan. So I'm giving that respect of the experience and the will to win of the Saints over the 49ers. Super Bowl 54, the Kansas City Chiefs and Patrick Mahomes, Andy Reid versus New Orleans, Sean Payton, Drew Brees, and just the thought of Andy Reid and Sean Payton having 2 weeks to prepare for this game. This is going to be a classic. This game is going to be a shootout. This game is going to be awesome. And my Super Bowl champion is the Kansas City Chiefs. The reason why I'm going with the Kansas City Chiefs in a potential game versus the Saints. First, let's take a look at what the Chiefs would have to do to get to the Super Bowl, right? They would have to slay the dragon and beat the Patriots in a rematch of last year's AFC Championship. They would have to go to Baltimore and beat the supposed best team in the league in their building and then go to the Super Bowl, right? I think that the Chiefs are a tough matchup for the Saints defense. I think the Saints would have a tough time dealing with all the speed the Chiefs have because I don't really see the Saints as a fast defense. I don't really see them having man-to-man abilities that other teams that give the Chiefs issues do have. I don't see them having an extremely great defensive coach that can go toe-to-toe with an Andy Reid. I don't see the pass rushers outside of Cameron Jordan who can disrupt on their own. And then you look at a guy like Schwartz, who's a really good tackle, who can hold his own versus a Cameron Jordan. I think Patrick Mahomes and the quick strike and big play capabilities of the Chiefs in terms of Travis Kelce and Tyreek Hill and Mecole Hardman and Sammy Watkins, that I think would be the ultimate winning factor for the Chiefs over the Saints. I think the Saints would be able to score a lot of points. They'd be able to scheme up ways because they have so many different screens and pick plays and little rub routes and all these sort of things that they do to get open and to beat a defense. In man, in zone, Brees obviously has experience on the Super Bowl stage. Obviously, Sean Payton does, but so does Andy Reid. So does Spagnuolo. And I really like Spagnuolo on that Super Bowl stage to be able to do a couple of things that can actually get Drew Brees. I mean, this is a guy that's consistently done that to Tom Brady. So I think he could do it to Drew Brees as well. And yes, it would be difficult to contain that Saints offense. But I just think the Chiefs would be able to be more explosive. The Saints don't have the same downfield passing attack that the Chiefs do. And that to me would be the winning biggest factor for the Chiefs winning Super Bowl 54. That's my prediction, my Super Bowl MVP. I'll give it to Patty Mahomes. The Chiefs, Andy Reid finally wins his first Super Bowl, and Patrick Mahomes puts his first Super Bowl on his resume. That is my prediction for the 2020 NFL playoffs. Chiefs over Saints. Let me know in the comment section who you guys have winning the Super Bowl. Who do you guys have in the Super Bowl? Who do you guys have winning all the games? Let me know in the comment section below. It's been Mitch of the Bottom Line View. If you've enjoyed, Gronk, spike the like button, and subscribe to the Bottom Line View for more NFL in-depth previews and game picks. Peace out.